name is Margie Alaprandi. I am super excited about the information that you're going to be experiencing this evening. Tonight, we are going to be hearing from a leading expert in the hydrogen water space, Dr. Tyler LeBaron. We're also going to be discussing why Nueva Nitro is such a significant science-backed solution in the wellness space. So let me introduce to you Dr. Tyler LeBaron. He has a background in biochemistry, physiology, and exercise science. He interned in Nagoya University, Japan, in the Department of Neurogenetics to research the molecular mechanisms of hydrogen gas on cell signaling pathways. And he did that 16 years ago. And what he learned and experienced was so compelling to him that he decided to start an educational institute, complete nonprofit, of which he is the executive director of Molecular Hydrogen Institute. So Dr. Tyler is a director of the International Hydrogen Standards Association and the International Molecular Hydrogen Association. He speaks at medical conferences across the United States and in academic biomedical hydrogen symposiums and conferences around the world. He is also quite the athlete. When he's not busy talking about hydrogen and hydrogen water, he's training as a runner and as a competitive arm wrestler. Welcome, Dr. Barron. We're so happy to have you this evening.
Well, thank you, Margie. It's my pleasure. Thanks for the interesting introduction. It's always a funny thing to listen to your own introduction, but yes, it's my pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
So let's dive right in. One of the really impressive things that you're going to learn about Dr. LeBaron is that he was the original publisher and actually helped to complete these clinical trials that we're going to be talking about tonight. But I kind of want to rewind first, Dr. Tyler, and let's just start simple. What are the benefits of hydrogen water?
Yeah, great question. I think we want to first clarify when we say hydrogen water, what are we talking about? Doesn't water already have hydrogen in it, right? We remember that water is H2O. And the difference is that water, if you think of like Mickey Mouse, right? There's the oxygen and then the two hydrogens that are combined together. So those hydrogens are combined to that water molecule. We are talking about hydrogen gas. When the two hydrogen atoms are bound to each other, that makes a hydrogen molecule or molecular hydrogen. And this is dissolved in the water, or you can even inhale it and so on. But when you take this molecule and you dissolve it into water, and then you drink it, similar to what you're doing right now, you're drinking water, and when that water gets into the stomach, those hydrogen gas molecules rapidly permeate and diffuse into the body, and it goes into the cells. And when it goes into the cells, it's able to neutralize free radicals, an excessive amount of toxic free radicals. It's able to modulate our inflammatory response so we don't have this low-grade, high excessive inflammation. It's able to provide benefits to our mitochondria so that we can have increased energy, cellular energy, which we'll talk about the importance of that. So those are some of the biggest things. We're talking about its ability to provide antioxidant effects, anti-inflammatory effects, and mitochondrial support.
Hydrogen water is a super big buzz right now. There are experts in the field. I don't know anyone that's got more expertise or more years studying this than Dr. LeBaron, but we've got Joe Rogan talking about it, Gary Brecka, Andrew Huberman, Nicholas Perricone, Ben Greenfield. And so it's all the buzz right now. But there's something that makes Nueva Nitro very singular, very unique in all the world. And so let's talk about what happens when we add L-citrulline to hydrogen and we create nitric oxide. Well, first of all, what is it? We know that nitric oxide is naturally occurring in the body. I know that's always a question. Are there any side effects? Well, no, because your body produces it. Your body recognizes it. It's a vasodilator, right? So it will loosen and expand the vessels. So when that happens, what are some of the benefits?
Yeah, actually, nitric oxide is so fundamentally crucial to our entire being. I mean, you start producing nitric oxide within a couple weeks or days even after conception. I mean, nitric oxide is a gasotransmitter, it's a signaling molecule, and that is involved in numerous communications. Some of the biggest ones you mentioned is the vasodilation. So, I mean, the idea of like Viagra, for example, kind of works on this concept of inducing vasodilation. And so more blood flow, right, to your muscles, to when you exercise, to your brain so you can think. Nitric oxide is also important for the immune system. Now, so your body produces it, and as you get older, you start producing less and less. And not only that, you actually produce the nitric oxide at the wrong time in the wrong locations and cause harm. Because yes, nitric oxide, as critical as it is and as important as for our health, it's also very detrimental when you get dysregulated. As you get older and your body starts producing in the wrong compartments, it causes problems. Nitric oxide is a free radical, so it can cause oxidative stress. But when we combine it with molecular hydrogen, we're able to get all the benefits of nitric oxide without the harmful effects. And this is why this combination is it's really groundbreaking. I mean, it's really spectacular, groundbreaking that we're able to combine these two. So nitric oxide is so crucial, but there's a dark side if it's not regulated. As you get older, you get less and it gets worse. Hydrogen is kind of the key, the secret, the other gas that's natural to your body. Your body also has hydrogen gas. Your bacteria, if you're healthy, produces hydrogen gas. All this is natural, and hydrogen gas is there to regulate everything.
Whenever you can say proven to, whenever you, it just adds that and additional layer of credibility. And the fact that you yourself worked on these very studies and helped in publishing them, like we couldn't have anybody better than you to explain. So let's just start right here. What happens when we increase nitric oxide levels? Let's look at that chart. And on the left-hand side, I think interesting how quickly um,
Yeah. So if we talk about if we look at the right side first, whether before and after, this is again the idea of nitric oxide, right? So you have your blood vessels, and as you get more nitric oxide, those are going to dilate, and it's going to allow more blood to go into those blood vessels and like to the muscles, to the brain, whatever is needed, right? So this chart here is just showing an increase in nitric oxide. So the y-axis shows the fractional excelled nitric oxide. So you actually measure it from your breath. There's an FDA approved machine that actually is there to measure nitric oxide. You can use it to diagnose asthma. You use it for a whole bunch of stuff. It's very well validated. And after taking this product, this combination, you can see there's a baseline, and then 45 minutes later, there's essentially 100% increase in nitric oxide levels. So indeed, this is able to increase that nitric oxide levels and subsequently have those effects.
Here we're looking at thermography, right? Explain this. And I think once again,
Mhm.
this chart on the left is so incredibly fascinating. And I like to compare it to, a lot of people need that cup of coffee, that caffeine in the morning to get them going, right? But the fact that this will peak, you'll notice something within 45 minutes. It will peak at 4 hours, and then you still have some um, residual benefit for up to 20 hours. Just if you would
Mhm.
add to that.
Yeah, it's really is fascinating. So we just talked about we increase nitric oxide. Well, that's great and dandy, but is it working? Is it working where we want it to? Are we seeing the actual benefits? And that's what this graph showing on the y-axis the blood flow percent increase, and the x-axis is the time. And you can see there's the baseline measurement, and then over time what happens is that the blood flow, the actual blood flow starts to increase. So you can start seeing that increase over more and more time. And like you said, Margie, for like 20 hours. So you can think about this. You can take the product, say in the morning, and now over the course of the entire rest of the day, you're going to see this have improved blood flow to your muscles, to your brain, for your exercising or any of those things. So that's critical to make that connection between first we see the increased nitric oxide levels, and then secondly we see an actual increase in the blood flow to the muscles. And then on the graph next to that, well, we see this the thermal imaging, right? With the hand there. Now, if you think about this, so you have your hand, the temperature is 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit. And then as you increase blood flow to your extremities, well, blood is warm. And so you would logically think, okay, if that's really happening, if this graph is really true, then we should see increases in temperature. And indeed we do. We go from 96.8 and up to 99.2 degrees Fahrenheit. So it really is showing this increased blood flow. So again, these are all showing increased nitric oxide levels. Then we show increased blood flow and logically increase in the actual temperature of the hand.
We just have to reiterate, this is not a jittery feeling. I've taken it 12 days in a row now. This stuff is legit. And the benefits, right, are so vast and broad spectrum, and yet it is subtle, right? So it's not like 20 hours later, you're trying to come off something, right? That you're so, amped up. It's not that at all. It's the clarity and the focus, right? So, and it does taper off. Just wanted to mention that it's a good thing that it lasts 20 hours, not a
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, that's the point. Because it's not like a stimulant, where it's just like pure caffeine, which is a adenosine antagonist, is going to just hype you up and activate epinephrine, norepinephrine levels. This is totally different. This is just getting your body to work properly, getting to go back to homeostasis so that you can have the cognition and the ability to muscular movement and things that you otherwise should have. Yeah, so we just saw the increased blood flow to the extremities. Well, that's cool. Our hands have blood flow, right? But what about our brain? That's what we want, so we can actually think. And this just shows the BH as a breath hold. So it's going to have this is part of the protocol when you're doing these types of tests. And in this case, you have the baseline level, and then you take the product, and then 90 minutes post, you can see on the y-axis, that's the relative change in oxyhemoglobin. That's the area under the curve. And you can see quite a significant increase after 90 minutes, and then even 3 hours. Notice that's correlating. Remember the other graph? It was like 4 hours was peak, and then we're still seeing increased blood flow. This all correlates together. So we see nitric oxide production very quickly, peaking within 45 minutes or so, and then we're seeing sustained benefits for a long duration of time, and it's being referenced here. And we're seeing the same thing with the brain oxyhemoglobin concentration. You can measure this with fMRI, and you can actually literally see the changes in the blood flow by measuring oxyhemoglobin. So this is all this graph is showing.
Fantastic. Having been in the wellness space for 3.5 decades, the one thing people are always asking for, well, they want to lose weight and they want more energy. And when we talk about energy, the stimulatory type of energy has very diminishing returns. So we're talking with this product about energy at the cellular level. Why is cellular energy so critical, especially to peak performance in these days where we are so distracted and so fragmented with so many hats to wear?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically when we talk about cellular energy, we're talking about the energy currency of the cell, which is ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. And you're right, we need a lot of that. And the mitochondria produce most of the ATP, like 90% of the ATP. And just to give you an estimate, Margie, you need, on an average day, just doing your normal things, you need about as much ATP recycled as you weigh. So if somebody weighs 150 pounds, their mitochondria have to recycle and make 150 pounds of ATP.
Wow.
And that could double doing things like an Ironman and other things, right? We can calculate this based upon the caloric expenditure and everything. So the mitochondria is crucial to making the ATP. But if you have dysfunctional or impaired mitochondria because you're getting older, because of the environmental toxins and all the things that are going on and so on, then your mitochondria are going to be impaired, and that's going to require it to use glycolysis to make ATP. It's a slower process. You're just going to be less efficient and so on, and that's going to make it harder to have energy to do your normal functions of life. But even your cells are not going to have the energy to really give the cellular function that's needed, because their cells are doing so many things. They're constantly building and remolding and changing things and doing DNA repair and on all the time. And if it doesn't have so if you don't have enough energy to like get up and clean the house and do things, you're like, I just feel tired. Well, how do you think your cells feel? And they need to have this energy, right? And molecular hydrogen has been shown to really help rejuvenate and activate the mitochondria and cause this regeneration. And so this is a really neat thing that can happen. And then when we combine this with the nitric oxide, we're actually getting that blood flow to the cells, in with the good, out with the bad. And now we can start seeing some of these clinical benefits, but it starts all at the cellular level. Yeah, so when your cells are working better, then your neurons, right? Your neuronal cells are. So therefore, you should see phenotypic benefits. In other words, you should actually see clinical benefits, which is what we're seeing right here, basically showing improvements in your motor cortex functioning. So like in this case, again, you're seeing changes on the y-axis on the oxyhemoglobin concentration. So you're getting more blood flow to the brain. And then this other graph is just showing with this finger tap. This is like your motor cortex functioning. You're being able to control those alpha motor neurons and basically having higher executive function of the brain. What is the mechanism behind this? Because this is really phenomenal results. It's just measured by an EEG, and the higher the voltage, well, the more brain connectivity, the more there's cross-firing and benefits of the brain, neuroplasticity, all of these things are increasing. So there's a couple of points to look at this if we look at the different sessions. So this is, pretty much, a baseline or 4 months prior to taking it. You see a little bit of this red area. But then an hour later, it's actually increased. So again, correlating with increase in nitric oxide, increase in blood flow, increase in oxyhemoglobin levels under the curve, right? All of these things are happening, and now you can start seeing improvements in your motor cortex functioning and higher brain voltage. And then the dates are also like this one was a couple of days later. And that's at baseline too, but notice there's actually more. The higher voltage even after this, suggesting a cumulative effect. So it's not like you take the product just one time and you're only going to get those benefits for, the 20 hours or whatever. Actually, if you take it every day, it seems that you start getting more and more benefits. The cells are able to respond better and better and better, and you start getting a cumulative benefit. And then this last session, session 4, this entire area, I mean, the square is the targeted region because you're doing executive function thinking right there, and so you're able to map in right there, homing in on that. But this entire area, the whole brain has a higher voltage. So it's very, very interesting. It's just a very good indicator that what we want to happen is happening. Yeah, so this is another test that is done with the brain gauge, and pretty much you have the baseline levels, and you can see this this chart, right, looking at accuracy, focus, time perception, fatigue, TOJ, which is the temporal order of judgment. Now that's like baseline, and then after taking the product, you can see all these improvements increased. Even the speed increased, but accuracy was maintained. That's a big deal. All of these ones are really important because it helps, like it says at the bottom here, like plasticity, fatigue, focus, and overall the time to perceive something. This correlates very well with what we just saw with the EEG showing the increased brain voltage. So again, because you see the increased brain voltage, does that truly mean that you're going to have improved cognition and cognitive function? This is the data showing that actually, yes, it does. Everything correlates really well and mechanistically is sound. Of course, for athletes, we know we have to have that oxygenation and blood flow to the muscles, and this is just some data showing this very thing. So here we're showing the maximal aerobic power. It was about a 6.6% increase, as well as the functional threshold power, 6.5% increase. And then they looked at the maximal oxygen uptake, and you see about a 5.5% increase. In other words, when you're exercising at your max level, well, if you have better blood flow to your muscles, then your muscles there's two things that are going on. One, you have more blood flow to your muscles so that the oxygen is now made available to the working muscles, and you've improved your mitochondrial function so that your mitochondria can actually extract the oxygen from the blood and use it. And therefore, if you're delivering more oxygen to the muscles because you have blood flow, and you're extracting more oxygen because you have improved mitochondrial function, you're going to have a greater oxygen deficit or use more oxygen, and therefore it shows your VO2 max. So in other words, the maximal volume of oxygen consumption that you can use during maximal exercise increases, and that's what this is showing. So it's a pretty impressive results, actually. This is just a little pilot study, and this is actually one that I specifically did with some of my students in the lab. I just wanted to try something. What we do is we have do the 50 repetitions of isokinetic knee extension exercises. In other words, that get on this machine and I have them do maximum repetitions with like leg extension exercises. Okay, and so they're just sitting there and they have to do maximal effort. And the machine has a specific speed, so it only goes so fast, right? And they have to go 100% as hard as they can with every single repetition, all 50 of them. It's really hard. I mean, when the students get off, I mean, they can barely walk because they really push themselves. And then what we can do is just measure the peak torque on every one of them and then average it all together. And what we found, it was literally a 27% increase in the maximal torque. So it helped to delay fatigue as well as we're not showing the data here, there was an actual increase in the total torque in some of the repetitions that they did. So this is a great data. And again, it correlates with other data that's also showing that just hydrogen itself, can help to delay fatigue and improve muscular function. So again, getting the blood flow into the muscles, you're going to have better function altogether.
You just blown my mind. I mean, I've personally experienced this product and it is a game-changing product. Now we get to hear from some of the folks that have tried this product and have had what I love about it is the broad spectrum experiences. I mean, just think about it. When you're increasing blood flow and oxygenation, brain, heart, all of it, like there are things happening that you'll never know how good they really are for you, but there's a pronounced benefit in clarity and focus, and you're going to hear from some of these folks. So let me bring on first Ryan Peters, if you would, from Denver, Colorado.
Well, Doc, I can tell you this. It was fantastic to listen to you because everything that you talked about is what I experienced when I took it. And I never knew any of these numbers beforehand. I've done a lot of, I've been training for 40 years and I've done a lot of the pre-workouts and all those kinds of things. And I had a scare about 6 months ago and it was my own fault, took a little bit too much. And I had an irregular heartbeat for about 15 minutes and it pretty much scared me to death. And I pretty much swore off all the pre-workout stuff. Well, Michelle Barnes had the opportunity to get some of this hydrogen water, and I took one. I talked to her for about 20 minutes, then I went to the gym. And normally on Wednesdays is what I do, and I wanted to test this. I do 100 reps per set for every body part, and I just go through it, and I go through it as quick as I can. To test it out, I increased all the weights 5%. Not a huge jump, but I increased them all 5%. I went through it like it wasn't even there. And it was shocking to me. Normally after that, I may, if I'm not super tired, I'll jump on the spin bike and just spin like, I don't know, about 90 RPM for 20 minutes. I do this thing called my 80s workout. I turn on Pandora and I put on an 80s channel. So it's all 80s music. Don't judge. Nobody judging. For one of the songs, I just spin at 90 RPM. And then when the next song that comes on, I get out of the seat, turn the intensity way up, and I go for that song. I did that for 45 minutes. I felt like I could go all day. What you were talking about with the VO2 max, I mean, obviously I wasn't hooked up to anything. I can't tell you what exactly it was, but I do know that the efficiency level and how much stronger I felt and how I felt like I could go all day. And the other thing that was cool is the whole time, it was more like I just had this general sense of well-being. You know, when I used to take the pre-workouts, it seemed like my hair was growing. And if you feel like my hair is growing, it's doing something to your body. But I'll tell you what, everything that you just talked about is exactly what I experienced. Wow. And when you said that thing about the 50 rep max, I was like, holy, and again, everybody's watching this. This is the first time that I have ever heard any of these numbers. I listened to the Rogan and Brecca interview. And that's where I started to hear, that's where I started to, think about the hydrogen water. But I'll tell you what, that it is legit. That stuff, I can't wait to get more. Michelle kind of hoarded the other one. She had another one left, but she wouldn't give it to me.
I think she shared it with you. You're a lucky man.
I know. Well, I've known her for 30 years. We've been friends for a long time. So I got preferential treatment on that. How's that? We'll go with that.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Brian, for sharing that with us. Next up, I want to bring Cynthia Collins. Anything you want to add to that one, Dr. LeBaron?
No, that was amazing. I mean, I did this research a long time ago. I was very I've been following hydrogen for a long time, and then this product was developed, and I found out about it, and I was like, this is very intriguing, and I'd like to maybe research a little bit, and so to hear some of these reports, I mean it's N of one, there's placebos, all this stuff, right? But when you have good clinical data and then these testimonials just really support and everything just correlates well together, I guess it gives me a good feeling inside. It's pretty cool to see people
Yeah.
have those lived experiences.
We're going to help so many people with this product. All right, Cynthia Collins.
Doctor, this has been, and Margie, just amazing experience I had. So a little bit about me. I have been in holistic health. I just kind of shunned pharmaceuticals for the last 30 years and help a lot of people that way. And one of the things that I'm most concerned about, I had a brain injury, traumatic brain injury, very mild, but it was years ago, and it caused post-concussive syndrome for me, which just imploded my life. When I find out something that crosses the blood-brain barrier, that means a lot to me to help a lot of people. So, my mom had a stroke. The brain is one of the things you really don't think about until it's gone or leaving. And that was very hard for me. So when I took this the first day, it tastes good. It's kind of a mild flavor, lemon lime. It tastes very good. I put it over ice and I just, drank it in about 20 minutes and really not even thinking about it. I sat down and I worked on my phone, and everybody will love this. I did not scroll. I did my work, and that's it. And I was like, wow, I got that done quickly without getting distracted or, down the scroll hole. And then about 15 minutes later, I got up and I did exactly what you said. I did all my housework that I've been procrastinating on, washing my floors, and it was done without thinking. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And then I had extra energy. One thing I do recommend is I did drink it about 5 o'clock at night, and I was up till 11 or 12. So I would drink it earlier the next few times that I drank it. I felt a lot of the things that you said, increased circulation, as in, so mitochondria is something that's triple in the muscle cells and the brain cells. And that was the first thing that was damaged in my brain injury. So I'm really in tune with when there's increased energy and increased communication going on. So I had that going on the whole time, and it was cumulative over days. Like, I felt better. I felt more feeling good, just feeling good all over and having energy and sleeping well. And one of the things I noticed, and maybe you can speak about this, my gut really cleaned out. It was very happy, and it was consistently that way, until I was finished with the case, the 12 drinks. And, now 3 days later, I'm like, my gut's not as happy. I don't know what's going on there, but I love all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a whole body product, which I love that. It's not just, the brain, like a lot of these energy drinks. This is a whole body cleanse and energy, up level. So very happy to have the chance to try it and share my experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cynthia. Dr. Tyler, the gut benefits.
Yeah. When it comes to hydrogen water itself, there are a lot of benefits to the gut. And a number of clinical studies have shown this. And it's interesting because we know that the healthier you are, or the healthier your microbiome is, the more hydrogen gas you naturally produce. And if you have a good diet, a healthy microbiome, you'll produce a lot of hydrogen gas. And in contrast, those who have, there's a correlation, people who have like Parkinson's or other cognitive disorders, they actually produce less hydrogen gas from the bacteria. So there's a very important connection there. And it turns out when you drink hydrogen water, that hydrogen water is able to benefit the intestines, the colonocytes, and that gives a better environment to facilitate healthy microbiome. So that's a big one too. And then the molecular hydrogen has interesting effects on the intestines, so that you can have this cleanse concept and things. That's some really interesting data around that entire area. I think people can maybe notice that. And So that's a benefit, but I really also like the idea that it is kind of for whole body because like nitric oxide, literally every cell produces nitric oxide and hydrogen can benefit all these cells. So it is kind of whole body system. But some of the things that get damaged the fastest is like our gut, our brain, and that's what we really need to protect. And this is a great way to do it with the combinations of nitric oxide and molecular hydrogen.
Nueva Nitro, baby. Sonia Schonenberg, will you jump in, please share your experience?
I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes educator by trade. So I was really excited to see all this science. But I will tell you tonight, I'm going to speak from a personal experience and testimonial rather than all the facts and figures. I personally am only on day 2 of using this product, but I have been on a very long healing journey for the last couple of years from exposure to toxic mold. And so I have been a pretty sick little puppy. And most of that manifests in severe fatigue. I was telling Margie and, everybody that's speaking tonight that before 10 a.m. in the morning, like I can barely do anything. I have zero energy, and it gets better as time goes on during the day. But obviously, when you're exposed to heavy levels of toxins, your mitochondria take a major hit. And so being able to really have something that is non-stimulant based is absolutely game changing for people like myself. I also have Epstein-Barr virus, which these things kind of run in tandem. And so anything and everything that I can do to feed my mitochondria, keep them happy, to give me extra energy, natural energy. I don't want to feel jittery. I can handle about 1 cup of coffee and that is it. So a lot of these energy drinks and, all these, even some of the nootropic drinks, they have the green tea extract and all of that. And even natural caffeine sometimes is a challenge for me. So I was really pleased to see that by, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I was actually up moving around doing things. And it wasn't like I was going to go run a marathon or anything like that. It was like just being able to not feel huge levels of fatigue for me. That was an absolute game changer. And it's only been 2 days. So you combine that with all the science that, Dr. Tyler is sharing. And I'm just like, how is this even possible? But obviously what you see on paper, when it starts to unfold in your body, it's like, well, wait a minute here. Something's really happening. So yeah, it's incredible.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm going to jump right to Ashley Dawes because your testimonials do have a little bit of overlap. Ashley Dawes, come on in, share your testimonial, girl.
Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited to be here. All these testimonies so far, it's like little pieces. I'm like, yes, I had all that energy. I love to exercise. The first day that I took the drink, it was like actually later in the day, which I found out later. They're like, oh, don't do that. But I did like this amazing workout. I felt good the whole time. I had tons of energy. And I even actually slept really, really good that night too, which was only like, maybe it was like 5 hours later after I took the drink. But here's my big thing. Just like Sonia, I can't have caffeine. There is some green tea in here because you get the ingredients and all things. And I'm like, ooh, like I don't even mess with like decaffeinated green tea or decaffeinated anything. Like I get migraines, right? I don't do it. So I was very cautious. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this for 12 days and we're going to see what happens. And not one issue, not one jitter, not. So if you have issues with caffeine, just like me, right? Or you have lots of customers with that issue, I had no problems and the energy was great. I'm sad that I'm out of it, so I can't wait till we get our hands on it. I'm definitely like double bulking up because this stuff has been amazing.
So, my friends, as you're listening to all of these amazing testimonials, thank you so much, Ashley. Can you not wait to get your hands on your own Nueva Nitro and imagine a product that has this kind of impact and this kind of broad spectrum benefit? I want to have you if you want to comment on any of those testimonials, great, but I do want to throw one more kind of closing question your way.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you for sharing. And like you said, I've been at this for 16 years, researching hydrogen gas. This entire industry has kind of grown off a lot of the research that I've been fortunate to be a part of, and I'm grateful. Like Rogan and others, mentioning my name and things on this area. But we need to really grow that awareness. And so it's really exciting actually for me that your company is taking this on to educating people. People need to know about this. And this is really a fantastic product with this data where people can really get this. So to me, I just want to say my personal thanks about that. And it's amazing to hear these testimonials. And when it comes to like the mold toxicity and Lyme disease and on all these things, there's so much good data about the effects of molecular hydrogen and why it's going to work mechanistically on the mitochondrial level. All of these really start to make sense. And it's true, the product does contain a little bit of caffeine. I don't know, we have to look at how much it is, but it's different because when you are looking at the way that molecular hydrogen regulates the body and brings things back to homeostasis, that's why people are not getting all these jitters and everything. And so I think it's a really cool combination so you can get the benefits because actually there is a lot of benefits to caffeine and a lot of people can't get those benefits because it gives them the jitters and problems. So this is actually a really neat way people can actually get some of these benefits. So I don't know, I think it's just really neat to hear firsthand. I'm usually in the lab doing research. I'm not in the product stuff so much. So it's just sometimes I guess it is fun to hear people's personal experiences with
Yes.
this hydrogen water products.
Yes, yes, yes. And caffeine can be used as a stimulant in certain products. It can be used as a diuretic. It can also be used as a carrier. And in this formulation, that's how we are using the caffeine. And as you can tell, the true benefits are coming from the increased blood flow, the increased oxygenation. So what would you say like to social marketers who might be listening to this for the first time? We know we've got a game-changing product here. What would you say about how the timing of Nueva Nitro meets the kind of like growing interest and conversation of hydrogen water in general, not to mention nitric oxide? Like, what would you say, like, describe what we have in our hands and how critical it is that we get the word out?
Nitric oxide is, like I said, crucial to our health, to everything. I mean, won the Nobel Prize in 1998, and more and more research has been shown the importance of nitric oxide. And as we get older, all those things I talked about. And then you have hydrogen gas, another small gaseous molecule that also has tremendous benefits. And it's possible it could also be subject to a Nobel Prize in the coming future. I know of at least 2 Nobel Prize winners who have said that hydrogen gas should be a candidate in the future for a Nobel Prize. And when we consider all the research that's been done, and you're talking about over 3,000 publications on molecular hydrogen, over 200 human studies showing the therapeutic effects of molecular hydrogen. And then in this product is unique because it combines that with nitric oxide. And like I said, nitric oxide has a dark side. How do we get the benefits without the negative effects? That's what molecular hydrogen does. That's almost like how nature intended it to be in the first place. It allows us to go back to our roots in so many ways. I mean, hydrogen that's the first element created in the stars, right? That's what powers the sun. We're literally stardust, where we all are hydrogen, and now we're come back together, and here we are to enjoy the benefits of molecular hydrogen combined with the nitric oxide. So you have 2 major fields with extensive amount of clinical data independently, and they're being combined together because this wave that's being created on hydrogen is going to be catapult is going to be, it's tremendous as you combine that with nitric oxide and this product together. So now, people like with your company are not only going to be riding the wave, you're going to be creating it, and with this momentum, so much momentum. So I say it's really exciting.
Riding the wave. Nueva, the new wave.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Nueva
that's right.
Nitro. Yep. Dr. Tyler, thank you so much. Brian, Cynthia, Sonia, Ashley, thank you so much for your testimonials. We love you guys. And again, thank you, Sean Azimi, for running the tech. Appreciate you all. Thanks, everyone, for joining
Thank
in.
everyone.
Thank you. See you soon. Good night, everyone.